Hi, friends.
How are you?
Hope your week is going well.
Yeah. We already did all of our chit-chatting in the first 30 minutes of the last episode. Right. So this week we're talking about disappearances, bringing you some more disappearances. And for all of these, if you have any information about any of them, who to contact will be in the description for this episode. So I guess we will jump right on into it.
Hold on, I'm hiccuping. We just got through eating dinner.
I almost said bless you.
All right. So the first one is Branson Perry. April 7th, 2001, Branson Perry planned to hang out with a girl he was friends with and had invited over. Her name was Gina or Jenna.
I think it's Jenna.
Jenna? Okay. Perry's home was located in Skidmore, Missouri, and he had invited Jenna over to help him clean the house before his father, Bob Perry, was to come home from the hospital. On this day, there were two other men outside working on Bob's car. These two men have remained unnamed, and it is assumed they have not been questioned in connection to this case. According to Jenna, she saw Branson grab something from a cabinet in the kitchen, and then he ran through the house and out of the back door. He later returned, and she asked him what he was doing, but she claimed he refused to say anything and acted like nothing was happening. Jenna shrugged it off and went to take a shower. After coming out, she noticed one of the men from outside in the kitchen looking through the cabinets. She asked the man what he was looking for, and he replied, "Nothing," and then quickly left. Around 3 p.m., Jenna said she was upstairs when she heard the front door open and close. When she checked who it was, she saw Branson leaving the house and going toward the shed where the two men had been. He had a pair of jumper cables in his hands. Branson Perry was never seen again. A little under a week later, Branson's grandmother, Joanne, had stopped by the house and found the front door unlocked and no one home. She noted that the radio was still on and thought that this was very unusual, but was not overly concerned at this point. Over the next few days, she would try and call Branson, but he never answered. She again went over to the house and it was still empty. She was concerned and called Branson's mother, Rebecca Kleino, who did admit that she hadn't heard from her son in a while. Bob was released from the hospital on April 17th, and this was when the missing persons report was filed. The Nottoway County Police put together search parties, and they initially searched with a 15-mile radius of Branson's home. Abandoned buildings, fields, and farms were searched, and there was no trace of Branson found anywhere. Police could also not find the jumper cables that he supposedly had taken to the shed. But 2 weeks after the initial search, they were found on the ground outside the shed. Odd.
Yeah.
After a discussion with local police, Jenna claimed that Branson had been experimenting with drugs, specifically marijuana and amphetamines. That word is so hard for me. Amphetamines. This was seemingly confirmed by a family member who said that he had a bottle of Valium on him when he disappeared. People who knew Branson but were not close to him were interviewed about his drug use and sales, but not much came from this, and there was nothing to really connect him to the sale of any drugs. Nonetheless, there were rumors that he owed money to some drug dealers, but this has never been substantiated. During the search for Branson, it was revealed that 4 days prior to his disappearance, he visited with his neighbor, Jason Bierman, and alleged that he was drugged without consent. While drugged, Branson lost control of his actions and was forced into having sex with Jason. Branson confessed this to his father, who had known that his son was gay. His father believed that Branson had been sexually active in the past, but did mention that this incident seemed to bother his son. Initially, Bob thought that Branson might have skipped town to go to Kansas City to be with some friends and escape his bad experience. In the years following his disappearance, some leads were followed, including officials revealing that they were excavating an area in Quitman, Missouri. They had received a credible tip that Branson's remains would be located there. They dug down 23 feet and 40 feet wide for 2 days and found no remains. In 2010, Branson's mother offered a reward of $20,000 for any information leading to the location of her son. Unfortunately, Bob Perry passed away in 2004, and Branson's mother, Rebecca Kleino, passed away in 2011 from melanoma, both never knowing what happened to their son. I did find a Reddit thread, or Brittany found a Reddit thread.
I found a Reddit thread.
I
usually type how I talk.
Right. No, I get it. Oh no, I clicked out of it. Hold on, I'm sorry. A Reddit thread of people who were adding some further notes to this case. Like the friend Jenna. When Branson went missing and never came back, did she not think that might be weird? Did she just grab her stuff and leave and not say anything? There was also talk from people who know the town of Skidmore, and apparently it has a reputation of weird crimes happening and not really ever being solved, which is really weird considering it is a really small, really small town. One Redditor said it was a population of like 1,000. Someone said that whole town has some creepy juju about it. For a town of not even 1,000 people, it has a disturbing legacy of crime and weirdness. I drove through it one time, and it's just a forlorn scattering of junky, old, and or abandoned buildings and houses, a bar, a small gas station, and maybe one or two other businesses. It's the kind of town you're grateful it's small because you can at least get through it quickly. There was also talk of Branson having tachycardia, which is basically a racing heart, and it's possible that if he were doing any drugs, this could cause him to have a heart attack. One Redditor suggested that maybe he and his friend Jenna were doing drugs together, and he had a heart attack and died, and she freaked out and hid his body somewhere. But there isn't anything to substantiate that claim. As of May 2024, the FBI is now investigating the disappearance of Branson after their office received a tip concerning the case. We feel like it's a good tip, so we want to invest in it, said Captain Alston Hahn from the Nottoway County Sheriff's Office. The FBI has specific resources to provide. They have specialized resources to provide that we do not. Hahn did confirm that the investigation does include a well that is located in Quitman, Missouri, which is just 6 miles, 6 miles north of Skidmore. Retired police officer Michael Kurz said that 2 people were questioned in relation to the case in 2009, and that is what led to the digging in Quitman. He said that while no remains were found, it was evident that the earth there had been disturbed, and it is possible that there was something before, but they could not find it, or it may have been moved. There was no confirmation of what the FBI was looking for in Quitman, but Hahn did say that cases like Perry's are usually solved exclusively through tips from the community. In a different article from 2023 about the case, Kurz said, "I'm never going to let his name die. I'm going to keep it active. I refuse to quit, and I want everybody to know his case."
It's kind of sad.
It is.
They're all sad, but
the fact that it's like
he literally went out to the shed and then was never seen again.
Well, and like it was like Jenna was there, but like that was it.
Yeah.
Did we not find this strange? Like what?
Right. Like I can't imagine. Like you come over to my house, you go outside to like get something from your car, and then I never see you again, and your car's still here. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Also, you came over to help clean the house, but you're taking a shower at your friend's house.
I thought that was weird too.
I found that odd. Like I in our 20-something years of being friends, almost 20 years of being friends.
I think you've showered here once.
One time, and it was because there was something wrong with our water in our house.
I've never showered at your house.
Not even when you were living at my house?
Well, that was different.
Did you shower there then?
Yeah, I showered there.
I figured you might have gone like to Granny P's.
No, because she only had a bathtub. She didn't have a shower.
Oh, that's right.
So I was grateful for the opportunity to
have
to take a bath.
I forgot. Honestly, though, it would have been a really short shower. Well, that isn't. You're short too, so.
Yeah. My shower now is short.
That bathroom was tiny.
It was. It was.
Not as tiny as mine.
It would have been possible to put a shower in, and I almost had her convinced. And then I met my ex-husband and moved out. So she was like, I don't need to do that.
I want to say something about that. Now that you mentioned that, I thought about it the other day. I am not a good matchmaker. Any couples that I have ever brought together are not still standing. That's a lie. There's one.
There's one.
There's one.
Are they solid?
Yeah. Married with 3 children. I don't know if I can be credited with bringing them together, though. This is my sister. Like, she met him at ball games that I was playing at. I mean, and me and his little sister kind of pushed it, but, like, there was interest there outside of us.
Yeah. You helped.
Excuse me.
I used to say that, because I used to do photography, for those who don't know. And I did a lot of couples, and a lot of them broke up. But I've had some that got back together. And, like, one has now got, like, a bunch of kids. I think he probably still cheats on her, but that's none of my business.
Whatever. Hey, at least
I'm already catching your pestilence.
Whatever. Don't do that. At least I can say that I helped you get laid.
That's true. Was it that good? No.
Well,
but
something's better than nothing, yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, I would have.
I'd rather not been traumatized.
Yeah, I started to say. Maybe not.
I'd rather stay celibate, but everything happens for a reason. Because I probably, if I had not have married that man, I probably would not be with Daniel. Because it was because of that man that I started playing Pokemon Go. That man and his friends. His friend, my sister's ex-husband.
You don't think that you still wouldn't have gotten into it because your sister's ex-husband was into it?
No.
And that was time that you could have spent with her?
Probably not.
I don't know. Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah, because I didn't want to play it to begin with. I would go and hang out with them, and then I started playing it.
I have been gifted the beaver.
She brought you her beaver.
Somebody brought me the beaver.
It would have been Amara.
Thank you. I don't know how long ago I was gifted the beaver.
I don't know. It was probably while we were gone.
Bitch.
She probably was like, meow, with it in her mouth. The next missing person is Brandon Swanson. So on the night of May 14th, 2008, Brandon Swanson was 19 and in college at Minnesota West Community and Technical College in Canby, Minnesota. On that night, Branson had gone to 2 parties to celebrate the end of the spring semester. One party was in Canby and the other in Marshall, which was about 30. They're about 34 minutes apart from each other. Brandon's friends said that he was drinking that night, but he was not excessively drinking and wouldn't describe him as overly intoxicated. After leaving the party in Marshall, Brandon was on the road when he suddenly swerved and ended up in a ditch. Needing help with this, he called his parents around 2 a.m. and told them he had high-centered his car and that there was no damage and he wasn't hurt. He just needed a ride home. He was on a back road and told his parents that he was pretty sure he was close by Lind. His parents made their way there and they both agreed to flash their lights at each other so they could confirm their identities, but his parents could not find him. They were on the phone with Brandon and he said he would get out of the car and start walking toward the town that they could pick him up from there. They were on the phone with him for 47 minutes when Brandon suddenly said, "Oh shit," and then there was silence on the other end. Brandon's parents tried to call him back, but he never answered. At this point, it was 6:30 a.m. and they decided to call the police. Initially, police refused to search for Brandon and told his parents that it wasn't at all unusual for a young man his age to stay out all night. It's his right to be missing. Eventually, the search for Brandon did begin, and during a search of his phone records, it was discovered that while Brandon thought he was near the town of Lind, he was actually near the town of Porter. His car was located in a ditch near Taunton, but it showed no obvious signs of foul play, and the keys were missing. During the search dogs did end up picking up Brandon's scent on a trail near the Yellow Medicine River and then in part of the river, which led police to believe that maybe Brandon walked through the water at some point. The dogs also alerted to the scent of human remains near Mud Creek, but nothing was ever located. Brandon's scent was also picked up on a piece of farm equipment nearby, but police ended the search here because in order to search on private property, they would need the permission of the landowners, which was not granted. And many farmers in the area did not give them permission to search on their land. There has never been any trace of Brandon found besides his car. Other things of note were that Brandon was legally blind in one eye due to a childhood injury, and while he had glasses to help him, those glasses were left in the car. A theory is that he didn't see one of the many unmarked cisterns in the area and simply fell in.
Bless it.
Another possibility is that if he did walk through the river or maybe even fell into the river, he could have died from hypothermia since the temperature that night was down to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. There is no evidence to suggest that foul play occurred, but it is still a possibility. There have been no tips that have led to any more information about Brandon's case. Due to the way that police initially handled Brandon's disappearance, his parents took action and was able to get Brandon's law signed by Governor Paul Pawlenty in May of 2009. And this law requires law enforcement to immediately begin a preliminary investigation when an adult goes missing under dangerous circumstances, regardless of their age. And if you have any information leading to answers regarding Brandon's whereabouts, you can contact your local FBI office.
I could see where they would think that maybe he fell into a cistern or something. The way he was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy. Can you imagine being that parent though? You're on the phone with him. And you're looking for him. And all of a sudden you hear, oh shit, and then silence, and then you can't get them back.
Yeah.
That's terrifying. Okay, the next one is Kyron Horman. Just after 8 a.m. on Friday, June 4th, 2010, Kyron Horman arrived at Skyline Elementary in Portland, Oregon for his second grade class. A kid. This was the day of the science fair, and with the assistance of his stepmother, he was setting up his project. Another student reported seeing Kyron around 9 a.m. near the south side entrance to the school, but Kyron did not report to any of his classes, and he did not board the bus to go home at the end of the day. He had not been seen by anyone since setting up his science project. Kyron was very interested in forensic science, and on the day he disappeared, he was wearing a shirt with the logo for the show CSI. Terry Moulton, Kyron's stepmother, was the last family member to see him alive as he walked down the hallway that Friday morning, but she failed a polygraph test twice when questioned about the day's events. She has since been divorced from Kyron's father and has been named a suspect by not only court documents, but also her own lawyers. On the day of Kyron's disappearance, Moulton was seen at 2 different grocery stores up until 10:10 that morning, but between then and 11:39 a.m., she has no alibi. She claimed that she was driving back roads with her daughter, Kiara, trying to soothe an ear infection before she went to check into a 24-hour fitness center about 11 miles away at 11:39 a.m., where she remained for about an hour. Moulton claimed to arrive home at 1:21 p.m. when she logged onto Facebook and posted photos of Kyron from that morning of him at school with his science projects. At 3:30 p.m., Kyron's father, Kane, joined Moulton at the bus stop to wait for Kyron, but he did not get off the bus. They drove to the school and found that he had been marked absent for the day. They asked the secretary to call 911. This call led to the largest missing persons search in the history of Oregon. The heart of the search for Kyron ends up being the relationship between his parents and stepmother. Kane Horman and Desiree Young, his biological parents, divorced with Kyron, divorced.
When Kyron. That was my bad.
Do what?
Divorced when Kyron.
Oh, okay. Divorced when Kyron was small, and the two shared custody until Desiree became ill with severe kidney problems, and she was forced to move back into her parents' home and give full custody of Kyron to her ex-husband until she was fully recovered. After his divorce from Desiree, Kane married Terry Moulton, and the two had a daughter, Kiara. According to emails that Moulton had sent to some friends, the marriage was not going well. These messages were shown to Kyron's mother, Desiree, and she said they revealed that Moulton had a severe hatred for Kyron. Desiree said she blames a lot of the marital problems between Kane and herself on Kyron. It was a huge point of contention in their marriage, and she had expressed in great detail her hatred for Kyron. I now believe without a shadow of a doubt that not only is she capable of hurting Kyron, that it's clear that she could have hurt him in the worst possible way. Initially, were you about to say something? Initially, police did not suspect Moulton of having anything to do with Kyron's disappearance, but it was indicated that there was a probability of deception during her first polygraph test, and she had gaps in her timeline for that day that Kyron disappeared. But none of this would be sufficient evidence that she committed any crime against Kyron. For the first 10 days, Kyron's case was listed as a missing persons case, but then investigators announced that it was officially a criminal investigation. In July of 2010, a local landscaper that Moulton had hired previously had shown up at the police station and told authorities that 6 months prior to Kyron's disappearance, that Moulton had offered him money to kill her husband. Detectives shared this information with Kane, and he promptly left the house on July 26 with the couple's 19-month-old daughter and hired a family law attorney, filed divorce papers, as well as a restraining order against Moulton. Unfortunately, there are no other suspects in the case, and there aren't very many updates in the 14 years since Kyron went missing. Kane said, "They found no clues. They found nothing. All the searches to date that I know of, both private and by the sheriff's office or the search and rescue teams, there's been no piece of evidence forensically linked to our case. So they found nothing. So he's not around here. So the question is, where is he?" The Multnomah County Sheriff's Department is still actively seeking any and all leads in this case. Currently, they are no closer to solving Kyron's disappearance today than they were 14 years ago.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah, it's really sad. Check your teams. I'm working on it.
Next is born on May 4th, 1982 in Brockton, Massachusetts. Mara Murray was the youngest daughter of Fred Murray and Lori Murray. She had an older brother, 2 older sisters, and 1 younger brother. Mara was an overachiever both academically and athletically. She participated in nearly every sport, including competitive AAU basketball, which gave her the ability to travel all over New England as a teen. She was also very active in her community and became well known for her kind heart, her dimples, and her smile. Mara was a fierce competitor and was consistently finishing in the top tier of runners in the state of Massachusetts, and she broke several long-standing school records. She graduated at the top of her class at Whitman-Hanson Regional High School and had her pick of colleges for both her academic achievements and her athletic ones. She decided to accept a congressional nomination from the late Senator Edward Kennedy and join her sister Julie at the United States Military Academy at West Point. Here, she continued to excel in the military and academic programs and established herself as a force to be reckoned with on the cross-country and track teams. However, during her second year here, she decided the military was not for her and transferred to the University of Massachusetts in Amherst and decided to pursue a career in nursing, much like her mother, Lori. On the morning of February 9th, 2004, Mara had submitted her nursing homework electronically and had reportedly emailed her professors saying that she had a death in the family and would be leaving campus for the week. But there was no death in the family. She had placed a call to the owner of a condo in Bartlett, New Hampshire. She had spent time there in the past, and it was a special place for her. She had packed a bag with toiletries, makeup, some workout clothes, her school books, and enough clothes to last her for several days. At 3:15 p.m., Mara stopped off at an ATM off campus and withdrew $280, which was nearly all of the money in her account. She then stopped at a liquor store and purchased $40 worth of alcohol. Authorities said she left the Amherst/Hadley, Massachusetts area around 4:30 p.m. and drove her 1996 Saturn north toward New Hampshire. She did not relay her plans to anyone, and she didn't say why she had made these plans on that Monday afternoon. At 7:27 p.m., a resident of Haverhill, New Hampshire, named Faith Westman called police and stated that there was an accident near her home and that a car was stuck in a ditch. Shortly after, a bus driver named Butch Atwood had driven up and spoken to Mara. He had offered her assistance and asked if she needed him to call the police, but she declined both offers, saying that she had already called AAA. Atwood knew that there was no service in the area, so he drove to his home about 100 yards east of the accident, went inside, and called the police. His call was placed at 7:42 p.m. When asked if she appeared to be injured, Atwood told police that she had appeared to be shaken up and that the airbags had gone off, but he saw no blood on her. The first officer arrived on the scene at 7:46 p.m., and by this time, Mara was gone. The officer noted that her car was locked and there was a box of red wine in the driver's seat, as well as stains on the ceiling and the door. There was also a Coke bottle that appeared to have red liquid in it. He also noted that there appeared to have been a rag stuffed in the tailpipe of her car, but it was later learned that this was something Fred had advised her to do so that she wouldn't be ticketed by police for the excessive smoke coming out of her tailpipe. The officer asked the bus driver to assist him in locating Mara and suggested that he drive west of the accident scene and search some roads in the French Pond area. A state trooper responded to the scene and also researched some of the roads west of the accident site. Fire and EMS also responded to the scene, but EMS was dismissed within minutes, likely due to there being no one at the scene to treat. The 8 firefighters who were at the scene briefly searched in the area of the accident before leaving and returning to the fire station. As far as anyone is aware, no one ever searched east of the accident scene. The last known interaction that anyone had with Mara was the brief interaction with the bus driver. Since then, there has been no trace of Mara and no activity on either her cell phone or any of her bank accounts. Mara's sister Julie has a podcast called Mara Murray, The Untold Story, which details her sister's life and her disappearance. And there will be a link left in the description of this episode where you can send tips if you have any information leading to the whereabouts of Mara Murray.
The next one is Misty Copsey. On September 17th, 1992, Misty Copsey had finally convinced her mom after several days to let her go to the fair with some friends. Her mom said it was okay as long as she had a safe ride home since she worked the night shift and wouldn't be able to pick her daughter up. She promised her mom that she would take the last bus running from the fairgrounds. On that day, Misty and her friend, 15-year-old Trina Bovard, were dropped off at Puyallup Fairgrounds to go to the state fair. They spent the afternoon doing what I did when I went to the fair as a teenager, riding all the rides and eating all the sugary deep-fried foods. At the end of the evening, they both understood that it was their own responsibility to find their way home. Bovard would walk the 1.5 miles back to her home, and Misty was going to take the bus back to her home in Spanaway. The last known sighting of Misty alive was by a Pierce Transit bus driver who had an encounter with her as she was looking for a bus home. Unfortunately, the buses had stopped running by that time, but he gave her instructions on how to catch a bus that ran later. With that information, she set off. She was never seen again. Just based on the TikTok that Brittany saw where she got her name to add to her list of people to talk about in the future, police initially refused to investigate her disappearance because they said she had run away. There was apparently an amateur detective who found a key piece of evidence that indicated that she might have been a victim of foul play, but I'm going to try and substantiate that with articles and such. Investigators said that a major roadblock was a lack of evidence. Months after Misty disappeared, tips led to an official search of the rural area east of Buckley near Mud Mountain Dam. Misty's mother, Diana, and investigators and volunteers searched the area and found a pair of jeans in the wooded area beside Highway 410 near milepost 30. According to the police report, Misty Copsey was last seen wearing a navy blue sweatshirt, baggy blue jeans, and brown suede shoes. Diana knew that these were her daughter's clothes and told police that her daughter definitely owned them. Diana took this as a positive sign that her daughter was dead. The clothing was found near the remains of 2 other young murder victims. However, at the time, the police said that the pants did not have Misty's DNA on them and only had DNA of an unidentified man. The captain of the Criminal Investigations Division of the Puyallup Police Department, Jason Visnall, has been investigating Misty's case exclusively for the last 14 years. The investigation was rebooted in 2009, and at the time, Visnall said that new polygraphs were conducted, saying what you end up with are statements that are different than they were in 1992 because the memory is not perfect, especially when it concerns something that happened 30 years ago. He went on to say, "We would love to have more physical evidence pertaining to this case. We don't know where Misty is. In many cold cases, the person has been found, in many cold cases, the person has been found. I always felt that we could solve this case before I retire, and knowing that we may still be looking for Misty when I retire is very heartbreaking." Captain Visnall isn't the only person who has tirelessly worked to solve Misty's case. Her mother has done everything she could to find her daughter. She's expressed that her daughter had not been found. After more than 27 years of looking for Misty, Diana Smith died in February of 2020. Visnall said, "We always endeavored to find Misty, especially so that her mother could have closure. And the fact that her mother has passed away without knowing what happened to her is also very heartbreaking." After Diana passed away, her son and Misty's half-brother Colton Smith stepped up to try to get answers despite never having met Misty himself. "My mom, Diana, by every essence of the word, she's a fighter. I truly believe that everybody has a purpose in this life, and her purpose, I wholeheartedly believe, is to be a mother. And unfortunately with Misty, that was taken from her and it destroyed her. Colton was born just 6 months after Misty disappeared. He said, I was robbed of a sister. I was robbed of an older sibling or a sibling in general. I'm an only child, so I could have had a big sister to help me face the world. Finding Misty is important to me, just because that's blood, and she's out there somewhere alone, and she deserves to be buried as a proper human being with respect." Colton is determined to keep searching for answers, but said that the mishandling of this case by the police in the early days made it even harder. In the early days of this case, Misty was labeled as a runaway, and she was not. Unfortunately, after speaking with 2 young girls from Spanaway Junior High, where Misty attended, and girls whom she was not friends with, I'd like to add, they continued to label her a runaway, and they pulled her off of the missing persons list. Colton seems to share the same frustrations that his mother did, that if the police department would have done their job correctly in the beginning of the case, when evidence would have been likely to have been found, that they would be way further into finding Misty than they are. He said, I would probably not even be having to have these discussions with them. Captain Visnall says that he understands the family's frustration, saying current detectives in today's day and age are reviewing these cold cases and they are frustrated with the manner in which these cases were investigated initially. This is very common because law enforcement has come a long way in the past 30 years, advanced training, and new technology. In those particular cases, the cold cases would have been worked much differently today. Colton hopes that all of his mother's efforts were not in vain and that there can be some sort of closure. Misty and my mom, our mom, they're both gone now. They live on through me. They breathe my breath, and it's important to me that we solve this and bring closure to the family. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Misty Copsey, it will be in the description of this episode where to send that information. Can you imagine just going to the fair?
Yeah.
I mean, how many times did our parents just drop us off?
Oh.
That makes me think twice about...
I don't know that our parents would, went with us once we were teenagers.
No.
Crazy to think about.
And, I mean, but they always came back and picked us up. There was never just finding a ride home or, it wasn't, nailed down. Hey, you're going with Brittany. Brittany's mom is going to bring you home.
Right. There was always a plan.
See, that's scary.
Yeah.
That is so scary. As a mom.
I wouldn't let...
Why did you make this so that I have to tell the kid ones?
I didn't do it on purpose, but...
You do this every time. Every time.
She was 15. I
have a 15-year-old.
Well, I mean, I couldn't see you sending Maddie to the fair with absolutely no plan of how she's going to get home.
Right.
And, leaving it up to her to figure out a ride.
Right. No.
She wouldn't go unless there was a plan for a ride.
Oh, absolutely not.
Last one is Tara Calico. On September 20th, 1988, 19-year-old college sophomore Tara Calico was leaving her home in Rio Communities, New Mexico for the last time. She had her Walkman cassette player and a Boston tape and was headed out on her regular bicycle route of roughly 35 miles.
Ew.
It was her first ride, especially in that New Mexico heat. Well, it was September. It might not have been too bad, but I'm sure it was still hot. It was her first ride since she had gotten a flat tire a few days prior and had planned to be back so she could meet her boyfriend for tennis.
35-mile bike ride, and then you're going to play tennis with your boyfriend?
Yeah. To be young.
I wouldn't have done it when I was 19.
No.
I'd have been like, I'm tired.
She rode her mom, Patty Dole's 10-speed pink Huffy, but just in case she ran into any issues, since she had had the flat tire before, she told her mom to come looking for her if she wasn't back home by noon. Her family never saw her again. At some point during the next 2.5 hours, most likely during her return home along Highway 47, she vanished from the road. Dole called authorities amid gathering rain clouds to scour the area, but nothing was found. They did eventually find a cassette tape and a piece of a Walkman that Dole identified as belonging to her daughter, but another source says that this piece of evidence was eventually ruled out as belonging to her. Witnesses reported seeing a truck following Calico that morning, and investigators learned that in the months leading up to her going missing, that threatening notes were being left on her vehicle. Tara's older brother, Chris Calico, now 52, said, I knew my parents knew immediately that some foul play had happened. We didn't have any idea what. A multi-agency task force examined the case in 2013 and 2014, and both the FBI and the Valencia County Sheriff's Office were probing at least 2 living suspects, but they declined to discuss their theories or the suspects' names. After many years, loved ones still remember Tara, who was in college studying psychology when she disappeared, as a person who was willfully pursuing her dreams. After recovering from a bad car accident in high school, she was described as mature beyond her years, and that she wasn't going to let anybody stand in her way, says her friend who worked with her at the local bank, Janie Evans. Former Valencia County Sheriff Renee Rivera worked the case as a lead investigator for a decade beginning in 1996, and he left the office in 2011 and cited that there were 2 informants who gave him information that leads him to believe that Tara could have been killed by at least 2 teenage boys from the community and that they had 2 accomplices. He told people that he has a theory that she was attacked by boys riding together in a pickup truck that crossed her path on her bike that day in September. Rivera believes that the boys' families helped them to cover up the crime and believes that Tara is likely buried somewhere within the county of Valencia. Current investigators are skeptical of this theory, but they do acknowledge previous complications with this case, such as information that seemed to be leaked from within the sheriff's department. Melinda Esquivel was a high school friend of Tara's and is the host of the podcast Vanished, the Tara Calico investigation. And she says that within the passing of time, more people are comfortable coming forward while others who may have been involved have died. What makes the town charming is the same thing that makes it kind of scary, that you will go to great lengths to protect your own, she says. Esquivel and Tara's stepsister, Michelle Dowell, have done some grassroots detective work and have done interviews, searched through the investigation files, and have fed information to law enforcement. Michelle said, "I want to know where she's at, but I also want somebody to pay for it, and whether they're alive or dead, at least acknowledge the fact that it happened." It is worth noting that in July of 1989, 10 months after Tara disappeared, a friend called her stepfather, John Dole, saying that a photo had surfaced in Florida that showed a young woman and a boy who were bound and gagged, and he said that the woman in the photo looked a lot like Tara. The photo was a color Polaroid, and it was in good condition when it was discovered by a woman in a convenience store parking lot in Florida. Both apparent victims faced the camera, their mouths were taped shut, and their arms were pressed together behind their backs as though they were tied up. It also appeared as though they were in the back of a vehicle, which I think it was later found that it was definitely a van that they were in. The photo was analyzed 3 different times, including once by the FBI, and it was felt strongly that it likely wasn't Tara, but they could not say for certain that it wasn't her either, that it was or wasn't. Scotland Yard in the UK, though, they said they believed it was Tara. But the Valencia County Sheriff's Office did not actively pursue the image. Tara's mother, Patty Dole, believed until the day she died that it was a photo of Tara. Authorities have never been sure if the photo was connected to Tara's case. Patty died in 2006 after complications from a series of strokes after she and her husband John relocated to Florida. Her family and friends said that Tara was always on her mind, and she and John kept a bedroom for Tara and would bring her gifts there each year for Christmas and for her birthday. Near the end, Patty would see a young girl on a bicycle and would point and write down Tara, and John would tell her, "No, that's not Tara," recalled a close friend of Patty's, Billy Payne. On June 6, 2023, the Valencia County Sheriff's Office released a press release stating that they had made substantial progress in the joint investigation into Tara's disappearance. According to Valencia Lieutenant Joseph Rowland, who is now the lead investigator, law enforcement believes they have identified the offenders associated with Tara Calico's disappearance, and we are seeking to charge and arrest the offenders. New evidence was found stemming from investigative work in October 2020 to the present. He added, "The district attorney's office has assigned a team of prosecutors to review the investigation. This case has obvious challenges due to its age and circumstances. Legal experts are currently being briefed and caught up on 34 years of investigative work. No names of suspects or any details have been released, but detectives are still requesting any information from that the public might have. The FBI did also confirm that the girl in the mysterious Polaroid was not Tara." and there's been no update in 2024, but I'm sure that it takes quite some time to look at all of that information. So I'm sure that it's still, there's the legal experts are probably still looking at the case and learning everything that there is to know. But as with all of these cases, the information on who to contact should you know anything about Tara's case will be left in the description of this episode. That's it.
Well, I also wanted to mention, while we're on disappearances, there is a 15-year-old little boy by the name of Sebastian Rogers. Good Lord. Sebastian Rogers, who went missing from his mom's Hendersonville home on February 26th, and he has not been seen since. So we're looking at March, April, May, June. We're looking at 4 months missing.
That's a long time.
That's a long time for a 15-year-old little boy. He was autistic, cute as a freaking button, but there's been no progress in the case. They cannot find... It's like the kid just vanished into thin air. There's no video footage from Ring cameras, any kind of cameras, nothing. It's literally like he just vanished.
Yeah. People don't just vanish.
I have theories, but we're not going to get that here.
Yeah.
We're not going to go there. But
maybe one day when everything comes out, we'll talk about it. But
maybe. Hopefully be solved.
It'll be because he's home safe, but it's been a while. And the probability of, I think it's the probability of bringing somebody who's missing home safe, especially if it's a child, greatly decreases after like 48 hours.
Yeah.
So.
However, I will say, an episode of Grey's Anatomy I just watched the other day, this girl went missing as a kid, and then like, I don't know, 15, 20 years later, she resurfaced, and she was like schizophrenic and whatnot, and her parents had given up on her.
Oh no. That's sad.
They like...
I know it's a fictional story, but that's sad.
Right.
Because you know that's happened.
They even had like a funeral, assuming that she was dead, like had buried a empty box,
That's
had a funeral,
messed up.
she had a headstone and
they
everything.
Knew.
They had no idea whether she was dead or alive. They just gave up.
Oh, okay.
That's insane to me. As a parent, I think after so long, I would know. But there would always be that little part of me that felt like maybe, just maybe, they're somewhere still alive. Now, granted, chances of them being okay are slim to none.
Yeah. I mean, it's like parents of people who are in severe and active addiction. Like, they help them and they help them and they help them and then they help them. And then eventually they realize, I've got to stop helping them if they're ever going to get better.
Right.
It's either I'm going to help them into an early grave or they're going to figure this out on their own.
Right.
You can only help somebody so much.
I don't know. As a parent, I would never be able to just give up. I would go to my grave continuing. We would live on the side of the road because I would quit my job and be on the search every day. Like, we'd have to buy an RV because I would be on the road. Yeah,
I just can't imagine like my kid goes missing and then one day you just have to go back to your normal life.
Yeah, I can't. There's no way.
Because
even like the
world doesn't stop because your kid went missing.
Right.
Like
that's a hard thing for you to...
That's a very difficult concept to come to grips with.
Right.
I mean, and it's like, even if you have like the death of a loved one, it's like, you know what happened to them, but it's like, you're going through the hardest point of your absolute life, but, life goes on and like people are still, they're sitting at a red light and somebody's going to get pissed off and honk their horn at somebody. Like, they have no idea that you're having the absolute worst day ever.
And I mean, your boss is still going to demand that you're there making money the next day. Like, you've still got to keep on trucking.
Yeah.
I mean, all these employers that have policies of, if you lose a spouse, you get
X amount of days.
That's unfathomable. I can't even, like, you get, like, what is it, maybe a week at the very most to process and all that, and then you have to return, or you have to take leave and use your PTO.
Yeah.
Or just don't get paid.
And, like, if it's, like, a parent, you get, like, 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
My thing, my favorite is that, like, if it's not an immediate family member, so, like, your parents, your grandparents, your spouse, your kids, you don't get any time off. So, like, for me, my family's a decently close-knit family.
Yeah.
I have a cousin that passes, like, and I just went through this, a couple of years ago. I've got a cousin or an aunt that passes away.
Yeah.
I have to
take off.
My own PTO. Yeah. I don't get
bereavement time.
No. And I'm, this is somebody that I was close with, that just blows my mind.
It's just, I don't know, it gets into the...
Like, so God forbid.
Dystopian hellscape we live in, because, back in the, like, I went to that talk on Victorian death practices and stuff. And we even talked about it not too long ago. Like, if my husband died, I'm in mourning for a year. I can't even leave the house.
Right.
And now it's like I got to go back to work in a week.
Yeah.
But see, better not. I'm going to knock on wood here. All the wood, fake wood, compressed wood, all of it. If something ever happens to Daniel, I ain't got a job. So he better take care of himself.
Here's my thought process behind it. God forbid. All of it.
That's real wood.
If something were to happen to you, I would be an absolute wreck.
Yeah, I don't know that I would do. I don't know what I'd do with myself. But, like, your job's not going to give you time off.
No, my job would not give me any time off.
That's crazy.
Anytime. I would have to use my PTO to take any time off.
Listen, I'll make sure that you're listed as a sister. in your obituary. But, like, let's not do this for a long time. Let's wait till we're like 95.
Yeah, when we're not working and we don't have to worry about shit.
And I'm going to be working, shooting spit wads at each other in the nursing home.
I'm going to be working until the day that I die or cannot physically do it anymore.
Same, because I've barely put almost nothing into Social Security, so I ain't going to get nothing. I'm going to be working till the day I croak.
See, and you don't have a 401k, and I have jack shit in a 401k. That was a choke. That wasn't a sick cough. That was I think I choked on air.
She's getting me sick, y'all.
I have jack shit in a 401k because I had to take a loan against it.
Well, yeah, but you'll have to pay that back.
Yeah, my check is suffering because of it.
Yeah, but no daycare.
This is also that's a life update since the last time we recorded. I have 0 children in daycare now.
That's crazy.
And while my bank account is so happy about it, even though that money is going directly toward other bills to pay off things a lot faster.
Yeah.
Working from home and having kids at home 24/7 is not a great time. It's not horrible. It is better than I expected it to be.
And as they get older, it'll be even easier.
But and it's easier too because with the position that TJ has with work now, he's home a lot more than he has ever been.
Yeah.
If he's not traveling, then he's working from home. He has no home office now.
Yeah.
Like by home office, I mean like
there's not like a brick and mortar place for him to go. Yeah.
He works from home when he's not traveling. So, he's there to kind of help. If I'm on the phone and he's not, then he can field questions or whatever's going on in the background. If, and vice versa. If he's on the phone, I'm not. If we're both on the phone, Easton's still going to walk in that door and be like, Mom or Dad. And we're like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Shut up. But it's a whole thing. But it's easier on the pocketbook. The kids, the little ones are going to now have to start riding the school bus, the public school bus. And I don't know. The oldest one did not start riding the school bus until she went into middle school.
Yeah.
So I'm a little nervous about it because I'm afraid like one day they're going to miss their stop, or like on their first week or so, they're going to forget where their stop is. And then imagine the sheer panic when they realize, oh my God, I'm not supposed to be on this bus anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that it will get handled, but also the sheer panic that I will feel when I know that they're supposed to already be home and they're not there.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know, like, because we rode the same bus that goes by y'all's house. I don't know who drives it now or anything like that. But, like, because every once in a while, it would happen, like, literally once on a blue moon. But she would just, like, we would not get up quick enough, and she would just drive right past our house.
Yeah.
So she would end up we would wait until the end, and then she would drop us off on the way back
right.
out.
But I mean, there is a decent sized group of children that get off at their stop at my house. So I feel like they'll notice, oh, hey.
Yeah.
Because all the children look alike.
Yeah.
They all share similar traits.
Yeah.
So I feel like they'll say, oh, hey. They don't all live at this house, but like this is the babysitter's house.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of like a daycare-ish situation.
So they all get off the bus there. So I feel like my kids will say, "Oh, okay, these kids are going next door. It's time for me to get off."
Yeah,
but they've also got like one of Gemma's best friends rides the same bus.
Yeah,
and they'll be getting they're in the same grade. Yeah. So they'll be getting off like her stop is like the next one after his, gotcha. I think.
Yeah.
So she'll be able to kind of gauge it there, I believe.
Yeah.
And then
there's
she's got
like a friend to help her out like the first day, cuz like that was just amazing for me cuz I didn't ride the bus until I was Gemma's age. And my best friend rode my same bus, and she got off just like up the street from me.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, well, our bus is over here. And like, she helped, like, I didn't even know where to go to get on the bus.
Right. Well, she's got cousins too, that their stop is like the next one after them or a couple after them. So, however, I don't think for the first probably half of the semester, they're going to be riding the bus.
Yeah.
And also, too, I feel like Gemma and at least one of these children, because there's 3 of them, at least one of these children, because they're close.
Yeah.
They'll be like, oh, but if I miss my stop, I can just get off at your house and hang out at your house until my mom can come and get me. They'll try and pull that kind of thing, and I may have to, like, lose my shit about it. But it is what it is. At least I know she will be safe.
It is what it is.
So, but yeah, guys, that was this installment of Disappearances.
Yeah.
All props for that episode goes to Brittany. Like I said in the last episode, we're kind of doing a different format to where, like, she writes 2 episodes completely, and then I write 2 episodes completely. So it's not any less work.
Yeah.
But it's
the same, you're staying on the same train of thought.
Right. So it seems to be a little bit easier, and it will, yeah.
We say that, but I was totally not motivated to write these episodes whatsoever.
I wasn't either, and you guys will learn that in the next episode. I will talk about it.
I finished my notes Friday afternoon.
I didn't finish my notes.
Yeah.
On one of them.
It's okay.
But we'll talk about that in the next episode.
It happens.
However, you guys are still going to get that episode next week.
When was it? Like a couple months ago, I was finishing an episode in between recording episodes. Yeah. So it happens. It happens. I've just had a lot going on, it feels like.
Same. And it feels like the gap between when we record and then the next time that we're set to record.
It feels like so long.
It really...
and it sneaks up on us.
I started to say, when we plan it, we're like... So, like, tonight, at the end of our recording tonight, we'll plan for the next month. And then we're like, okay, so we're going to record on this day. And then it's like, okay, well, that's so far along. I've got so much time to do this.
Yeah. So I don't even think about it.
No.
And then next thing I know, we're recording next weekend.
Yeah, I better get on this.
Shit.
Better get on this right now.
I said last time I was gonna.
Every time, literally every time, I'm like, I'm gonna write at least one episode a week so that I'm not waiting till the last second to do it. And then, do I? No, because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give myself this next week off of not even thinking about it. And then the next week, I'm like, but Fortnite sounds a lot more fun than sitting down to write this episode. Also, if any of you guys play Fortnite, hit us up at one of the social medias and tell me how much you hate this new season, because I absolutely hate it. And I'm almost to the point of don't want to play it until the next season update. And I think that's not until August. So sound off on that. Let me hear your thoughts and opinions on this new bullshit season.
I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Fortnite creators, you really dropped the ball on this one.
Well.
All right, well, you got anything, nonprofit?
Yep. That's not me, that's you.
Oh,
boo-boo.
that is me. Just kidding. I thought that was you, but it's not. Okay, so the next one, or this one, is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. It's a private, nonprofit, 501c3 corporation whose mission... I looked all over this website to find it, and it's literally in the first line of the About Us, and I skipped right over it. And I'm like, I don't see it on this page. Anyway, their mission is to help find missing children, reduce child sexual exploitation, and prevent child victimization. It works with families, victims, private industry, law enforcement, and the public to assist with preventing child abductions, recovering missing children, and providing services to deter and combat child sexual exploitation. Every child deserves a safe childhood. And as usual, a link will be in the episode description for you guys to directly donate if you should feel so inclined.
Well, there you have it.
So make sure that you're what is it I say? Make sure that you're
your social circle.
Yep, and following us on the Facebook,
Instagram,
TikTok,
the Bird app.
Sending us an email at wanderersofweird@gmail.com. Oh, yeah.
Ew. That one gave me the ick. Show me to me, please. Show me to me, Rachel. Send it to me.
That was way more sexual than it had to be.
If you don't know what that is, please go to Google or TikTok and type in "Show me to me, Rachel" into the search bar and it'll pop up.
I didn't know what it was until like a couple hours ago.
It's been like 3 days and I've just been walking around going, "Show me to me, Rachel. Show me to me, please."
All right.
Okay, bye.
Hey, bye.